All eyes are on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's crucial visit to America as he meets President Donald Trump for the first time since he assumed the Oval Office on the 20th of January this year. The first bilateral that PM Modi had with Team Trump 2.0 when he landed in DC was with Hindu-American Tulsi Gabbard, now confirmed as the Director of National Intelligence. He's set to meet Donald Trump and his team, including DOD Chief Elon Musk, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and the Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. Now, for more reasons than one, PM Modi's visit is significant. One, because it comes amid the looming threat of tariffs. Donald Trump wants India to lower tariffs. India, meanwhile, wants to avoid higher tariffs on Indian products. In fact, just hours before he was supposed to meet Prime Minister Modi, Donald Trump posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, and I quote him, "3 great weeks, perhaps the best weeks, but today is the big one. Reciprocal tariffs make America great again," unquote.
In India, which is a very big abuser, he happens to be coming to meet me next week. And Modi, he's fantastic. I mean, fantastic man. A lot of these leaders are fantastic. You have to understand one thing. They're 100%. These people are the sharpest people. They're not a little bit backward. They are at the top. You know the expression, they're at the top of their game, and they use it against us. But India is very tough. Brazil is very tough. There are certain countries, I can tell you every one. I can give you from top to bottom. China is the toughest of all, but we were taking care of China with the tariffs. So we're going to do a reciprocal trade. If anybody charges us 10 cents, if they charge us $2, if they charge us 100%, 250, we charge them the same thing. And you know what's going to happen? Everything's going to disappear, and we're going to end up having free trade again. And if it doesn't disappear, we're going to take in a lot of money.
Now, that is, of course, from September 2024, during the U.S. presidential campaign, when Donald Trump had spoken about tariffs against India, and he called India the biggest abuser of tariffs. But ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also said that U.S. will impose retaliatory tariffs against India.
Update us on reciprocal tariffs. That's going to come before Prime Minister Modi's visit tomorrow.
I do believe it will come before the Prime Minister's visit tomorrow, and I will let the President discuss the details on the reciprocal tariff front. But this is something he believes strongly in, and it's very simple logic as to why the President wants to impose reciprocal tariffs. It's the golden rule, which we all learned when we were growing up in school. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And far too many nations around this world have been ripping off the United States of America for far too long, and that's why the President believes this will be a great policy that will benefit American workers and improve our national security.
Now, the second reason why this is crucial for India and US is because India is concerned about illegal immigration. It has been discussed as per protocol between India and US, but the dignified handling of illegal Indians on that military aircraft is something that the government has been concerned about. H-1B visas and the green card backlog have been big issues as well for the Indian Americans, and that is also perhaps likely to figure in the talks between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump. The two wars, China's notorious expansionist policy and Donald Trump's maximum pressure policy on Iran, are all going to be influencing how this relationship moves forward. The question, though, is, will the Modi-Trump bonhomie translate to relief for India as far as the tariffs are concerned? On the show, I am joined by David Sofair, Republican strategist, to talk more about this. Dr. Swasti Rao, geopolitical expert, is joining us. Ambassador Veena Sikri is joining us. Raymond Vickery, Senior Associate, Center for Strategic and International Studies, is joining us. And Christopher Hale is joining us. He's a democratic strategist. Good evening and namaskar to all of you. Christopher, let me begin with you. All right, let's try and connect Christopher. And while we get him back, let me begin with Raymond Vickery. Raymond Vickery, for more ways than one and for more reasons than one, India and US are now looking to bring back the kind of relationship that they perhaps shared during Trump 1.0, during the previous presidency, because there have been some challenges during the Biden administration. There were also, allegations by the Republicans and other supporters that the Biden administration was perhaps making things tougher for India. How do you see this visit?
Well, thanks very much for having me. I think this is a very important day, a very important meeting. I think it's of primary importance to understand that these two great democracies have to work together, one, to preserve their own democracies, but two, to bring peace and prosperity throughout the world. That having been said, I think it's plain that each president and each prime minister, regardless of party or affiliation, has left the relationship stronger than they found it. And we have no reason to believe that this won't continue with the Trump-Modi meeting this time. But of course, it is not the case that there was anything but improvement, it seems to me, overall in regard to the relationship going all the way back to President Clinton. President Biden, as you know, went all in with the Quad being elevated to leaders area, the G20 relationship being cemented with a joint communique and across the board. So I think the trend is going to continue. The main problem, of course, is going to be how we work around this tariff proposal and reciprocal, as well as immigration and the other issues that you've already identified.
Right. Ambassador Veena Sikri, do you want to come in on this? Just hours before he meets with Prime Minister Modi, Donald Trump posts that this is a big day for tariffs. There's going to be reciprocal tariffs. And this is to make America great again, something that he has been reiterating for the past several months. How concerned should we be? Can India handle the tariffs that come its way if they do?
Well, I think I would fully agree with Mr. Vickery that these are issues which President Trump has put in his election manifesto, and he has been talking about them and acting on them even after his inauguration as president for the second term. But in each case, whether it is even Canada or Mexico, a solution has been found that, okay, we can talk about it, we can do something, we give ourselves a month to work on it. So I'm fully confident that the India-US partnership is on a strengthening mode. It's on a mode where it's going to go stronger, it's going to go bigger. It's too important for both sides to let it fail. And I think that the problems which are there, certainly, of course, why not? In every relationship, there will be issues on which you do not see eye to eye, issues on which you have different perspectives. And it's part of the meeting at summit levels and other levels that you work through these issues and find solutions that are mutually beneficial and both sides can live with. So I'm certain that even in the area of tariffs and in the area of H-1B visas, and of course also on the deportation of those Indian citizens who have illegally migrated to the US, I think our statement by our External Affairs Minister in Parliament, statement by our Foreign Secretary in the press conference have made it very clear that we are working together on these issues. We have taken up the issue of the manner of deportation. We've raised it and we will continue to raise it. And maybe next time it'll be an Indian plane that will bring the deportees back. So I think we are prepared, and the US side is prepared to work with India on these issues. The signals are very strong. The signals are there. On the very first day of Secretary of State Marco Rubio taking over, Dr. Jaishankar had his first meeting with him. There was a bilateral of the Quad foreign ministers, which shows how much importance is being attached to Quad, and having the next Quad summit in India is very important for us, and certainly important for the US, Australia, and Japan as well. So we have to agree with the US on the outcomes as to what we are going to work together in Quad. What are the milestones that Quad would like to work towards in the next 3 or 4 years? And I think on defense issues also, we will look at defense procurement, we will look at transfer of technology, we will look at supply of the engines that have been promised. All these are so many important aspects that India is looking for decisions on, and we can certainly take the rough with the smooth and work through those as well.
Sure. So there are, of course, several aspects to this relationship that has only strengthened with time. David Sofair, so far, of course, the Modi-Trump bonhomie has been there for the world to see. They've enjoyed a good relationship. But this time around, what is America really looking at when they talk to the Indian leader? What are the expectations from the American side?
Well,
First of all, thank you very much for having me. And Trump and Prime Minister Modi have been in contact and have a special relationship for the past over 10 years now. So we're very happy to host Prime Minister Modi here in the United States. And what I'll say is that we have a lot of shared interests in common. And we are definitely looking forward to working together on trade and legal immigration, of course.
Yeah.
You have a large workforce in our country, which we are very grateful for, of course. But having said that, we have a few issues to iron out as well on a more foreign policy-wise, especially going with China and further afield,
Yes.
the Iranians as well. So I think that will be brought into focus a bit. And then when it comes to trade, we've been trading partners for a long time. We're the two biggest democracies in the world. Whilst India has a very large trading surplus with us, we are still working together and really looking forward to growing together. The special relationship of the two biggest democracies in the world. So it's a positive day, and I agreed with a lot of your analysts' points as well. So, as far as illegal immigration goes, of course, we're definitely going to come very hard on that first. The worst first, etc. So, we're unapologetic about that to an extent, but at the same time, we look forward to bringing back.
David, you mentioned China. You mentioned China, and let me get in Dr. Swasti Rao on this. Dr. Swasti Rao, we're just in a short while from now, we'll be seeing Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting the new NSA, Mike Waltz, and he's somebody who's, he's known for his anti-China stance. He's known for his pro-India stance. He understands the threats that come in with China's expansionist policy, the kind of plans and policy that China has been following, whether it's Taiwan or South China Sea or even at the LAC. So we have a man who's the United States National Security Advisor who is, vocally pro-India. What are we looking at here? What should we expect now from the Trump presidency as far as our concerns with China's notoriety is concerned?
Oh, well, absolutely. We have to be looking at continuity. In the long-term manner, there will be continuity, Shreya, when it comes to the geopolitical convergence on China. India understands that for counterbalancing China's unilateral attempts at changing the status quo in the Indo-Pacific, because China talks about a multipolar world, but a unipolar Asia, and India talks of a multipolar world as well as a multipolar Asia. And this is not really sort of, reconciling well. And for that counterbalancing, we definitely think that US is the best bet there. We've been investing a lot of strategic currency in frameworks such as the quadrilateral framework, which I expect to develop more teeth under Donald Trump's presidency, and especially with this dedicated team. You mentioned Mike Waltz, you mentioned Marco Rubio, so also Pete Hegseth. There's also, Elbridge Colby, who are close aides to Trump, and all have a very, very clear view when it comes to where the US should be focusing on. Now, this looks great in theory, Shreya. I think where we need to have a little bit of more, I would say, reality checks is that with Donald Trump's very strange plans with what he's planning to do for Middle East, I would want to see how much of his attention is he able to, or how much of America's capabilities is he able to free up for focusing solely on the Indo-Pacific. So that's one part. I can see that he is making a lot of early efforts at trying to sort of push China away from the Western Hemisphere, especially if you look at what has happened in Panama with respect to how he sort of arm twisted the Panamese, the Canal Authority to cancel the Hong Kong operations, of two of the 5 ports there. So we did see that. However, I think I would be a little careful in seeing how this is going to develop, especially as, America America is under Donald Trump is giving all kinds of very mixed signals on Greenland, and then from all the way to Gaza and everything. So we will have to see that. That's the first point. The other point where we have to be a little bit careful about China is that India is certainly looking to increase its exports also to the US across several categories. We keep talking about how tariffs and trade wars and reduction in tariffs are going to be important, but what we need to be careful about that, because we want concessions from the US so that it doesn't go into a duty increase, India is going to have to provide concessions of its own. Now, very quickly, what we have to be careful about is that there is no dumping happening then from the Chinese side, because those are things that we have to have a broader strategy for. I think as far as India-US ties are concerned, they are in for development. Minor hiccups are there. One of the hiccups that I am looking at is India's room for strategic autonomy, because Donald Trump has not just talked about China in a very unilateral sense about giving a peer competition to the US, but Donald Trump has been extremely vocal about the BRICS and the BRICS currencies. Of course, BRICS currency was never on table, but I do see that with Quad sort of getting more attention during Donald Trump, I would see how India then balances this very precarious balancing and multi-alignment with Quad on the one hand, the strategic partnership with the US.
Sure, Dr. Swasti Rao, I think on de-dollarization, India has been very clear. India has been, of course, very clear on de-dollarization. We are not overtly supporting it, and we're not, strongly against the dollar. All right, let's also, before I carry on this conversation, let's also get you the big breaking news that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met with the United States National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Of course, those visuals we will get for you. That's the first big meeting. In fact, the second one, the first one was with Tulsi Gabbard, and now he's meeting Mike Waltz. Extremely important meeting ahead of Prime Minister Modi meeting with Donald Trump. But let me quickly also get in Ambassador Veena Sikri into it. Ambassador Sikri, China, of course, is a crucial factor in this entire relationship, the India-US partnership to counter China. Mike Waltz is a man who has been pro-India and anti-China because of the kind of notoriety that China has displayed. Those visuals, ladies and gentlemen, are from that meeting that happened between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Ambassador Sikri, when it comes to China, do we see the kind of pressure that we saw during the Biden administration to take sides in the two wars, or would it still be India's choice? Would the Trump administration understand the fact that India has its own mind and she would want to walk the path of her own?
Let's be very clear. I think during Trump during his first term as president, there was a very good and broad understanding on India's concept of strategic autonomy. And that actually works also in the American interest, because we are developing our relations with America fully, with full wholeheartedness and enthusiasm. But at the same time, with others, like with Russia and others, we also have our strategic interests, and we've had them for a long time. And the US administration has lived with it all these years. So I do hope that this understanding of India's approach on strategic autonomy will continue in President Trump's second term. And I do see that his cabinet, the Mike Waltz you spoke about, the NSA, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, their positions on India, on China, do tell us that it's a good augury, and that the understanding on strategic autonomy will continue. But this does not in any way mean that India will hold back on developing relations with the USA. These will go full steam ahead. On China, our own concerns match with American concerns on the unreliability of China as a development partner, on the way that the BRI has put a lot of countries across the world on increasing their debt dependency, and so making them more beholden to China than is absolutely desirable, and China's aggressive posture towards Taiwan. and China's aggressive posture towards the maritime security in the South China Sea. And, they are affecting free trade, they are affecting movements of ships, and sea lanes of communication are being affected. So I think we have a whole range of areas on China that we have a common platform with the US on. And these are strengthened by seeing people like Mike Waltz and Marco Rubio and Tulsi Gabbard having similar views. So that is why I feel that on this issue of China, we will see eye to eye. I don't know how it will exactly be expressed because President Trump is also talking about other things with China, whether they'll impose tariffs or wait for a bit, see what China says. Is there a deal possible with China? All these talks are also going on, discussions within the American administration. But what is of concern to us, that our concerns on China, the Americans should understand, and we should be able to, reflect it through, let's say, defense deals, defense supplies on a very early basis, the GE engine that we're waiting for, all the other issues we're waiting for, the agreement on drones, the agreement on, whether it is, for the F-35 jets or whatever it is that India would like to work on with the US. So I think that the signs are that there will be understanding, and I look forward to that.
There is, of course, reports that the defense partnership will be strengthened, and perhaps there would be a deal between the Javelin anti-tank missile and the Stryker armored vehicle. We'll, of course, have to see when the final announcements and the deals are signed. But those visuals, ladies and gentlemen, are from the bilateral meeting that took place between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US NSA Mike Waltz. Remember, he was also somebody who was part of, and he, in fact, co-chaired of what is called the Samosa Caucus with Congressman Ro Khanna, and he was quite vocal about his pro-India stance. This is, a caucus which worked across party lines to move forward the economic, social, and other aspects of the country's growth. But Raymond, Vickery, to you, there's so much concern about tariffs. That tariff hit list is something that everybody is rattled with. And you just had Donald Trump post on Truth Social that this is going to be a big day. And the fact that it comes right hours before he's meeting with the Indian Prime Minister has raised a lot of eyebrows. What should we be expecting? Will he, won't he?
Well, I think that what's going to happen is Trump is a very transactional person. And he wants to be able to chalk up what he considers wins and wins in the face of the domestic constituency that he has. And my best estimate is that India will provide enough of the quote-unquote wins for Trump to be able to deflect this issue. It's completely unrealistic to expect that at one fell swoop India is going to cut its tariffs to U.S. levels immediately. But there are ways to deflect this. One is that last time in Trump 1.0, there was very near an agreement which was a sort of free trade agreement that never came about at the last minute. It may very well be that will be revived, and there will be talk about entering into the broader agreement. At the same time, India has already moved enough, in my judgment, to present gifts, if you will, to Trump, whether they be Harley-Davidson motorcycles, whether they be pecans, almonds, and intermediate goods and so forth, that Trump will be able to say, yes, I've gotten something for America first out of this. But make no mistake about it, these are not normal times in the United States of America. Trump is extremely mercurial, as shown by his tweet today. He operates in a let's make a deal approach in which he comes out with a very strong position for leverage, and then tends to compromise, as he did in regard to Canada and and Mexico. The problem is miscalculation and putting on the table something which is not compatible with the interests both of India and the U.S. We've moved away now in the United States from the WTO, in which you have most favored nation, and he's looking now completely bilaterally. And how all this ends and can be brought together for a worldwide system is yet to be determined. And in that regard, it seems to be Prime Minister Modi can have a positive effect in ameliorating some of the tendencies of our president.
Okay. Okay, Ambassador Veena Sikri, before I slip into a short break, a quick word from you. Would it be too early to expect the Trump administration to comment on Khalistani extremists perpetrating on American soil?
Well, I think that certainly this will be one of the issues that will be raised because it is a matter of great concern to the Indian government. I do think this is an issue on which India will find greater understanding from the Trump administration than it did from the Biden administration. And I think that already we have seen that some understanding has been worked out on these issues. And, even whether it's the Adani issue or the Pannu issue and so on, there is movement on creating understanding. And I do not see President Trump at all supporting any kind of activities against the sovereignty of a friendly country like India. And even in Canada, he didn't support it at all. I mean, the Trump administration did not support what Justin Trudeau was doing at all, whether on this issue or on other issues. So I think that this will be one aspect on which we will find greater understanding. Trump has always been against any kind of radicalism. He has been against Islamic radical groups. He's been against, these kind of these kind of terrorist groups which work against the sovereignty of another country. And I do not think there's any advantage to the American Trump administration giving shelter to these kind of groups. So I think this will be one of the early agreements that I hope will be possible. And the earlier deep state, which was much more in favor of supporting such groups as assets. This deep state Trump has promised to remove, and we've already seen him talking about various actions he has taken towards that end. So that's another indication that these kind of activities which were supported by earlier administrations will not find resonance with this administration. He's always spoken about the chaos in Bangladesh, for example. He has spoken about the barbaric attacks on Christians and Hindus. So I think these are indications that he's very sensitive to concerns of good friends like India, and he and Prime Minister Modi have a very good rapport, a good understanding. And as part of this bonhomie and understanding and rapport, certainly sensitive issues like this will be put forward, and I hope they will find a very good resonance.
Okay. Okay, let's hope that this good rapport also translates to lesser tariffs and India being less impacted by that tariff hit list. I'm also joined by my colleague Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan, who's at Washington, D.C., covering the Prime Minister's trip. Madhav, good morning to you in America. It's nighttime here, but of course, all preparations in place. One bilateral already done with the National Security Advisor. There's a meeting with Elon Musk and that big Trump-Modi meet that is expected in a few hours from now. Get us what's happening there. There is, of course, a big concern about tariffs as well.
Well, absolutely. In fact, tariffs is one area of concern, given the fact that we've seen some announcements come in as far as other countries are concerned. No formal announcements as far as India is concerned. But one thing that we are certainly learning is that given that Trump was pushing for a US-India free trade agreement during his first tenure, that's likely to be something that could be picked up as well between India and US. And, work has begun on that. There's been a lot of work that's already been done during that tenure, and that's something that could be pushed for as well. That has its own implications as far as trade and tariff is concerned, because all of the concerns concerns of the two countries could very well be absorbed once there is such a deal that is in place. But that is one aspect of it. There are multiple areas where there is going to be cooperation as well. Defense is, of course, one aspect. The opportunities for Indian companies to, co-produce, co-manufacture in India with the latest technologies coming in. And if the American companies, and many of them are believed to be inclined to actually sharing or transferring that technology, is also one area where we could see some amount of movement, because it also aligns with the Make in India and the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative that we've seen coming in from the Indian government side as well. So that is, of course, a very important area. Energy cooperation could be another potential area as well, because the United States with President Trump announcing that they're going to be drilling very aggressively, very, very important to see whether they will be able to, sell their energy to India as well. That's an important area of concern from the US's perspective. And of course, given that India is one, of course, the world's biggest importers of energy, a lot of implications that would happen for that as well. So multiple areas where there could be convergence. There are undoubtedly challenges, but a whole plethora of issues that are on the table. But nevertheless, it's going to be the first meeting in Trump 2.0, and so it's time for the two leaders to actually hit the reset button.
Yeah. Madhav, I was saying it's been a policy of President Trump to say drill, baby, drill as far as energy is concerned. But in a short while from now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also expected to meet with Elon Musk. Any word on, any plans of Starlink coming into the Indian markets and, sort of Elon Musk's plan in the Indian market? Anything on that you're getting?
Well, Elon Musk's, company Tesla, of course, has not yet technically entered the Indian market. But yes, there could be procurements from the Indian market that, all of Musk's companies could be potentially looking at. We have seen some amount of regulatory trouble as far as Starlink is concerned, with the armed groups, having been found in possession of the Starlink, communication. And that's, of course, communication that happens through the satellite. And that's a technology which many believe is the future of communication, given that, it has been demonstrated to be effective, and technologically, of course, far more superior. So what really will happen as far as Starlink is concerned and its own regulatory hurdles that we've seen in India, that's going to be something interesting to watch if that does come up in that particular meeting of Elon Musk as well. So a very, very important set of meetings. And the important way to look at it really is the fact that Prime Minister Modi has engaged not just with President Donald Trump. He has, in fact, engaged with those who are very much a part of the close circle of the President of the United States. It was Tulsi Gabbard yesterday evening, who's the Director of National Intelligence and was just confirmed yesterday, incidentally. We've seen the US NSA, Mark Waltz, in fact, who's been one of the first to meet this morning at 10 p.m. EST. Following that, of course, an important meeting with Elon Musk, and after that, Vivek Ramaswamy. These are all names of individuals who play very, very important roles as far as the US administration is concerned, and are, of course, known to be very close to President Trump. So in that sense, very important to see that at the highest level, the engagements that are taking place are happening in the sense that, with not just President Trump, but his entire team. And that just goes to show how deep the ties between the two countries and the two countries' engagement is.
Sure, Madhav, you have a long day ahead in the United States of America. We'll keep touching base with you as